been a while since I put out any content on this channel, but I really wanted to talk about Five Torches Deep, so here we are. Anyway, I'm not being sponsored by Five Torches, and this isn't a paid promotion. It's just my honest thoughts about the book, so let's get started. Listen, I've fallen in love with this system. I'm currently using it in my homebrew campaign, and it has been so much fun to use. It's also opened my eyes to OSR, which stands for Old School Renaissance. Basically, the systems that the first editions of D&D use, or games like Dungeon Crawl Classics, but we'll get into what that means a bit more in a second. Okay, so the cover art is pretty amazing. I love the way it captures a sense of danger and urgency the player characters will often feel when playing this game. Five Torches Deep takes Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and uses that rule set as a sort of skeleton, and then drapes its own rules all over it, which is great because it eases people like me into OSR, but it also allows you to keep a lot of the great mechanics in 5e, such as advantage and disadvantage. The book is set up so that you have most of the information you need on one page. For example, it comes with 4 races: elves, humans, dwarves, and halflings. You can find all the information you need for them on one page. This makes using the book a lot easier. Talking about races, one of the few criticisms I have about this book is how they neutered every race except humans. I think they were trying to create an atmosphere where humans were the dominant race, while the other ones were riskier to use. Personally, for my homebrew, I loosened up the race rules and made them more attractive for players to use, and added a few homebrewed races of my own. It wasn't a big deal or all that hard, and I like to try and offer players legitimate options so they can play characters that they find fun and exciting. Five Torches offers you 4 classes: Warrior, Thief, Zealot, and Mage. And each one of those also offers you a few archetypes, so you can make your own character feel slightly different. For example, mages can take the sorcerer, warlock, or wizard archetypes, which give you some unique skill options. In my homebrew campaign, the players and I ended up using these templates and created our own archetypes. For the mage class, we created a blood mage archetype, which allows players to use their own blood to enhance their spellcasting ability. For warriors, we created a shield warrior with some unique abilities that allow them to use a tower shield as a weapon. We did this for each of the classes, and my players really seemed to enjoy the extra options. But just using the core classes is fine too. Just do you. The equipment, and almost everything in Five Torches, has been simplified, which I love. I hate flipping through books while playing or trying to figure out complex mechanics. For example, I like that the light, medium, and heavy armor just give you a flat AC, which makes it easy to figure out how hard it is to hit your character. Weapon damage has also been simplified. Want to use a one-handed simple weapon? Cool, roll a d6 for damage. Want to smack a goblin with your longsword martial weapon? Okay, roll a d12. There's also a supply dynamic that's pretty neat. It lets you keep track of things like torches used, as well as other supplies that an adventuring party might use on their journeys. There's also sundering and durability rules. One mechanic allows you to sacrifice your shield's durability, essentially destroying your shield, but allowing you to absorb the impact of that strike. So if you have 5 hit points and an orc hits you for 6 points of damage, you can sacrifice the 2 durability of your shield and avoid being killed. Okay, so let's talk about gameplay. In 5e, characters are pretty tanky. They can take quite a bit of damage and shrug it off. In Five Torches, that's not the case. A first level character will often have less than 6 hit points. This forces the characters to be a lot more cautious and really weigh their options. My players will often try to think of ways to outsmart situations or villains that they might have just tried to slaughter immediately in a 5e campaign. In my last session, when players decided to open a new door, some of them would audibly let out a pent-up breath. They were nervous. There was real tension in the virtual room. Yes, we play on a virtual tabletop. And as a GM, I really like that. I love that players are being forced to think, strategize, and weigh their available options. It's a really different feeling playing Five Torches instead of 5e. I'm not saying 5e isn't good. I really enjoy that system as well, and sometimes it's nice being able to indulge in power fantasies and just slaughter everything in your path. But if I'm honest, I prefer the Five Torches approach. Magic users are also in for a surprise. In Five Torches, not only are spells pared down and not as powerful, sorry, no more damage-dealing cantrips, magic users, but they come with DCs, and if you fail them, you can misfire with all sorts of strange consequences. This was another thing I changed for my campaign. In my game world, your spells can still misfire, but we created a larger list of consequences, and incorporated a corruption system, which means that many high-level magic users in the world will often have strange mutations. If they survived at all, because the unpredictable magic also means that many magic users don't reach high levels. They're far and few between. The spell lists for both divine and arcane magic users take up, you guessed it, one page. I've begun making up my own spells or borrowing them from other OSR books, such as the Nameless Grimoire, which I might review at a later date. And I guess that's another thing I personally enjoy about Five Torches. The book says here's some alternate rules, some pared down simplified mechanics, and allows lots and lots of room for GMs and players to come up with their own races, magic, rules, and so on. Hell, one of my players even came up with their own pantheon to fit the game world. The book also offers a monster math section which gives you a basic guide on how to take 5e monsters and make them fit in the Five Torches world. Personally, I haven't had a hard time converting monsters from 5e into my game world. I often just make them up on my own or even on the fly, since I really only need a few stats to run them in a combat situation. But the monster math system is there and really useful. Even the character sheet has been simplified, making running a character really easy, and new players can catch on quickly. Overall, this is one of my favorite role-playing books I've bought in a long time. I love the simplicity of the system, the way I and my players can add to it, and how it raises the danger level of a session. It's just a lot of fun to play. The only real critiques I have are that the non-human races shouldn't have been hobbled as much as they were, and maybe the death rules, which are super non-forgiving. That was another thing our group changed. We still made dropping below 0 hit points very punishing, but you don't die immediately if reduced to negative hit points. But again, that's the way our group decided to go, but lots of people might decide that they like that mechanic because it raises the danger level a little bit more, and that's what OSR systems do very well. There's a lot more in the book, but I definitely think it's worth picking up. If it sounds interesting to you, I've left a link in the description box and you can perhaps buy a copy. Again, I don't get any commissions or anything, I'm just offering the link for convenience's sake. I hope you found this review helpful. If you own or have played Five Torches, please let me know what you thought in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, commenting, or supporting the channel through Patreon.